basically, I wanted to get people on that have got a good story to tell, but also relevant. So when we get to nowadays, you can see what a whole circle you've done, you know, and where you are today with your businesses and what you're doing with that land. And because that was a bit random, we didn't expect Fisher because that was why he brought it up, because I wanted to get some horses and that on set, just so it was like visually looked pretty amazing. And he goes, "Yeah, we got horses, we got not horses, you got goats and stuff like that." And I was like, "Okay, I have to come down," but I don't even know where it is. I forgot where he said it was.
Stephen talks too much. That's the problem. He talks too much. If you know what I'm saying to you.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of True Podcasts with me, Paul Candleton. Now, before we get into the actual podcast itself and who our guest is today, I'd like to start with saying thanks and grace to our Lord Jesus, our one and only Saviour, for making all this possible, and also MK Cypher for giving us the studio and making True Podcasts happen. So now, our guest today is a big name from Birmingham. He's a guy that I've been aware of since I was about 18, 19. And I've always seen him from afar, but never got to know the person on a personal level, but I've always known of him. Now, he's from Birmingham. He has a good name in Birmingham. He's well respected. And it's my ultimate pleasure to announce on the show, Todd Jarrett.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna
mkcypher Films is an independent production company based in Enfield, London, UK. We produce documentaries, short feature films, social media videos, and provide photography studio space for weddings, christenings, and corporate videos.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You okay, man?
Yes, thank you.
How's your driving?
Steady, mellow,
Good.
nice.
That's what you want.
Gives you good time to think.
About
Life.
in general.
Yeah, life in general. Putting things into place.
Because we was just walking over to McDonald's before we started, and as I mentioned coming into the intro, that I've always known you from afar, but never known you on a personal level. We used to train at the same gym. For the people at home that don't know, I used to train at a gym called Total Fitness, which in previous early years was called Keith's Gym, if I remember rightly. And I met Todd. I didn't really meet him. I saw of him when it turned really to Total Fitness, which was around the early 2000s. And Todd's a Birmingham City fan. He's one of us. And he grew up on the terraces of Birmingham. So I'd like to take Todd back to his childhood, where he grew up and how it all started for you.
Well, I actually grew up on the streets of Birmingham, not in the terraces. The football came a little bit later than that.
Okay.
Where would you like me to begin?
Where did you? How did your childhood start? Where it started and how life happened for you?
Okay, well, I grew up in an area of Birmingham between Whitton and Erdington, which is villa territory.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people say to me, well, how did you become a blues fan when you was coming from them kind of areas? But I think later on, when you move forward faster, you understand in a way, because the area that I came from, a lot of the fans that sported Villa, you noticed a lot of them was racist or prejudiced, whatever you want to call it. So
Okay.
growing up in them areas, I kind of like encountered, like a lot of racism. So I kind of didn't really get into the football until I kind of like got into a teenage year, if you know what I mean. But, I saw, the early years when the fans used to be shouting with their banana this and their monkey that kind of thing, because that's kind of like where I remember football from. But later on, when I got older and I started to venture the Birmingham streets, that's kind of like when I got into the football, if you know what I mean. But it wasn't planned. My life just evolved into football and Birmingham City. Like these days, a lot of the people who are into football or into gang violence or whatever, they plan it or they want to be part of that. I didn't plan to be part of that. I didn't even actually say I wanted to be part of it. My life just kind of like evolved around that kind of lifestyle, and it was my lifestyle.
And that's where we're going to get into a bit further on in the conversation. So what school did you go to in Birmingham?
I went to school in Erdington called Marshall. It was like a boys' school a few years before I got there. So, and I don't think there was many blacks before I got there either. School life, I think that when I left junior school, I didn't realise exactly what I was actually going to school for. I know you had to do your lessons and all that, but I didn't think it was leading up to later life where you leave school and you get yourself a job and you've got to knuckle down and you've got to do good at maths and English and stuff. I think that when I got to junior school, it was just like fun. And then when I grew older and got into senior school, I just saw the fun element of school, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Kind of like I missed it. I missed what the point actually really was until I probably got to the age of about 15 when you leave school, or 14. And then I thought, bloody hell, I've got to leave school. I need to find a job. I haven't even thought about what I want to do.
It's weird you saying that, because that was a similar ballpark to me. I mean, I love school, but not academically, more for my mates and having fun and just being a general kid playing football and messing about, having fun. So when he got to about 15, I was like, hold on a minute. I've been bottom class from near enough everything, not really learnt much academically. What am I going to do? So I did, do your exams and then obviously you leave school. And
well, the funny thing is, right, even though I wasn't on it like that, I wasn't bottom of the class because I've always been pretty bright. I can get myself through stuff. I mean, I think in the third year of my school, I mean, even though I was a hyped up kid and I used to be getting into this and getting into that, but I'd never cross the line because I come from a good Christian family.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. Every Sunday I went to church. Then I had to walk from, I think it was, do you know where the HB Sauce factory was in Birmingham?
Most of my family worked there.
Well, I had to walk from where I lived there to go to church, then home for dinner. Then my mum made me walk back again afterwards for the evening service. So I was doing some serious mileage going to church. And if I wasn't going to that church, she moved me to, I don't know how many different churches I went to growing up. And then I think that when I got to an age where it was a decision for myself whether to go to church or not, even though I decided I wasn't going to go, and I do go sometimes, I've always carried God in my heart.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean? Because I look and I think to myself when I see people, you know, some people you see them acting and it's like they've got a devil in them.
Yeah.
And you think, you've got to, if you haven't got God in you, oh, what hope is there for you really?
It's not hope, it is hope, but if you've not got God in you, what direction have you got to lead you? You know, you're going to be like a compass without a north. It's going to be going round and round and round and round.
And I think for that reason as well, most of my life as well, I've kind of sat on the fence.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, my lifestyle, you know, people probably say I've got kind of like, I don't know, a very active lifestyle of the kind of things that I've done, whether they be good, they be bad, or they be okay. But I've always sat on the fence and gone, I know the difference between right or wrong. In life, when I've been doing things that are wrong, I'm aware I'm doing wrong. And then I go, listen, I better get back on the other side of the fence because it's not really something that I should be doing. Do you know what I mean?
And that's, exactly what you mean. And that's where I sort of watched you from afar, especially when I was about 18, 19, around that mark. About 98, 99, 2000. I sort of knew who you was. The guy who owned the gym, I knew who Steve was, so I used to get a feel for you guys. There was you, there was Steve Fisher, there was Steve McClare, there was a guy called Adam Wood, a guy called Pav, and then there was a few other guys that worked there over the years, such as like Ed and a few others. But you was always older than me, so I never got the or had the reason or opportunity to get to know you on a personal level. But there was a few chances, the few opportunities that I went to. I remember going to Blackpool a few times with the guys from the gym, and there was a few guys that went to, where was it now? I think it was Cornwall, with a guy called Lee. He was a kickboxer. He used to have long hair and a ponytail.
I don't know, did I go there?
I'm sure you went to Cornwall. Newquay it was. There was about 20, 30 of us.
I'm not sure about that.
No. I'm sure, yeah. And when we came back to the gym, it was always you was always the guys that were always going out and having fun.
Well,
and it always seemed like a good crack at the time, but I was never old enough to get on the level, to get a chance to know you.
You know, it's very difficult to get to know me.
Amen. I know that.
Do you know what I mean? Because like I'm not the kind of guy who wants to talk to everybody. I'd rather sit back, watch people, see what they're about, and then think to myself, well, he carries himself in the kind of a way that, you know, I think that I could kind of put up with him and I could communicate with him. You know, our paths could cross, but, you know, I've got to see what people are about because, you know, once people are in your circle, I'm prone for saying what's on my mind. Amen. And if you're not supposed to be in my circle, I don't want to put myself in that position where I've got to say, you know, listen, me and you can't really be friends because you're a bit of a fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I might as well just screen everyone. Once they're screened, if the door's open, it's open. Plus as well, I find that if people really want to get to know you good enough, they'll make an effort.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean? If they're not making an effort, then...
All relationships is you give and you take, and you gotta give as much as what you take, because otherwise your relationship's not going to work. If it's all one way, you start to think to yourself, what's the fucking point in this? No point in this. I'm not getting nothing from this relationship.
I've got a kind of, in my head, I've got like a standard. I've got a standard of the kind of people who I want to be around. And it's not a financial thing. It's a principle, morals, you know, that kind of a standard. You know, a good heart, a good person. I like to be around nice people. Do you know what I mean? If I bring you in a circle that I'm sitting in and I say to you, these are all my friends, by the time me and you leave, you're going to go like that to me, Todd. All them guys are really, really nice guys. They're all sound. Maybe some of them don't look sound and don't look like nice guys, but I mean, at the end of the day,
If you can't judge your book bikes cover though.
you know, people look at me and they think I'm one way, but when they talk to me, they find out I'm completely different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like to be around nice people, people that you can sit down. You don't need to think about what's coming around the corner, or I don't need to sleep and I've got one eye open and I've got to watch them or whatever. I like to know that I'm sleeping, and if anything's going off, I'm going to wake up and they're going to go, oh, somebody tried to come in and stand over you, and we've got them tied up down there waiting for you to wake up so you can find out what he wants, kind of thing. Not somebody who goes, I wake up and I go, where's all these bruises come from? And they go, well, somebody was punching you while you're sleeping and we've done nothing about it.
Yeah.
You know, I like to be safe in my circle.
Cypher Films is an independent production company based in Enfield, London, UK. We produce documentaries, short feature films, social media videos, and provide photography studio space for weddings, christenings, and corporate videos.
And so, taking you back to your childhood, just after you've left school, and what would you do? What would you do for a bit of coin? What was you doing to earning across?
Now, I've got to be careful how I talk now, ain't I? Well, at first, I think the first way that I used to earn money was I met a girl who worked in jewellery.
Okay.
Now, somehow she could acquire jewellery. I never asked her how. Well, it was actually one of my friends who kind of introduced me to her, because she says that she had jewellery, and she says to my friend, she says, but I need someone I can trust. And he says, well, I've got just the person. So he brought her to me and introduced me to her, and she showed me what she had, and she told me exactly what she wanted. Now, when she showed me what she had that many gold chains. I think I was probably about 14, 15.
Okay.
And when I tell you she pulled out gold, she pulled out a lot of gold for somebody my age, you know, seeing stuff like that. So I just went around selling it. There was like rope chains and stuff, and I used to sell them for about £30 a chain, but she'd bring me them in 20s and 30s.
Okay.
And we built up kind of like a bit of a bond. I think at the time as well, I was on the dole, or whatever you want to call it. And I used to think, oh, I'll save the money I've got from the gold and I'll spend my dole money. So I actually learnt to save as well, which has become a good thing in life for me as well, if you know what I mean.
I've still not mastered that. I'd love to be able to save.
At the age of 15 or 16, I opened a bank account, and opened the bank account on the strength of this gold.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean? So I started to save, and, you know, it's a habit that's never really broken. But then she progressed and she started to bring me diamond rings and stuff. And I'm talking about, there was cluster rings and that, and I didn't really know too much about it, but I know, you know what I mean? Diamonds, gold. And I used to sell them to my friends around the neighbourhood, you know, just personal people, but they gave me good money for it. So I think that was the first time I'd ever started, as we would call it on the road, hustling.
Hustling, okay.
Yeah,
and who was your hustling? Who was your crew? Who was your boys that you trusted back then?
At the time, I was kind of finding myself. So I had my friends who I was growing up with from junior school and infant school. But it's like we was all kind of growing up and going in different directions, if you know what I mean. There was always still going to be my friends. And there was never really going to be many people who I meet in life after that who I was going to trust as much as my childhood, junior and schoolhood friends. But everyone was going in their own directions. We were turning into teenagers, and some of them was finding girls. Some of them was, I don't know, wanting to be skinheads and punk rockers and sniff glue or whatever they wanted to do. Everyone was just finding their direction in life to go to. So I can't say at that time I actually had a crew. I think the crew part was actually, it was coming in life, if you know what I mean. Okay,
yeah. Because you was good friends with a big guy and a big name and a big personality, Barrington Patterson, one eye Baz. And what age did you meet Baz?
I met him when I was about 14 or 15.
So it was about the same time you was doing the gold and the rings.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how was Baz? How did you find friendship with Baz?
Well, what happened is like my childhood area that I grew up in, we kind of like started to kind of like, you know, stick your neck out a bit further, start going into different areas. Well, for some reason, I think it was because at that age, I was into ska music, and they had different fashions around, like the mods, the rockers, the skinheads. I think the Teddy Boys was kind of like fading out at my era. So we used to follow groups like the Specials.
So you're talking like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. And started going into the city centre, Birmingham city centre.
Which was a different place then to what it is now.
Very different place.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, so we started venturing into the city centre, me and probably a couple of lads from my area who was on the same kind of scene as me. And as we got into the city centre, we started to meet, like, you know, guys who was dressed the same as you. They was into the same kind of music and stuff like that. So, you know, you'd get talking, you'd find out where they're from, and they'd probably be from all different parts of Birmingham, completely different areas from where I was from. And the more I was uptown, the more people I met, and I was up there for quite a while, and I met a lot of people. I mean, it got to the stage where I couldn't go into town without saying hello. If I says hello to 100 people, or write to 100 people, or I was chilling with 100 people, I wouldn't be lying. You know, I got to know all the youngsters in town, because you had the punk rockers that used to knock around in Oasis. Mm-hmm. They just used to chill there and sniff their glue, or I don't know what they used to do, because I wasn't a punk. Whatever punks do. Plus Oasis was there, so that's where they used to sell that kind of...
You had Subway as well. That was punk, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then you had somewhere where the skinheads used to knock around. Then you had a gang that was football related, which was called the Apex. They used to knock around the markets of Birmingham, and they used to go shoplifting and sell stuff to the market traders. Then you had another gang around the Jazz Funkers, who used to stand in the corner with a ghetto blaster and do their dancing and all that, yeah. Then you had another gang called...
I remember that.
You had another gang that used to be down a Night Rider, and I say, like I said before, I'm not sure what they used to get up to, but I knew they was the older lot than all of us, so they was kind of advanced, and I know they used to be earning, but they probably was earning on a different level from us, if you know what I mean. And it was probably where we'd probably settle for a penny and a pound. They weren't settling for that. They was probably earning, you know, good money doing whatever they're doing. You know, there was lads in town who were pimps, because we used to see them walking around. They was older than us, and they used to eye up the girls who he was with. And then as the girls got older, some of them kind of like went down that route themselves. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So when I left the area I lived in, my life turned that diverse. You wouldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? I met everybody from Birmingham, everybody from different circles, different areas, doing different kind of things, whether they be pimps, prostitutes, thieves, football hooligans, you name it.
We moved to Tamworth in the early 80s, and my family come from Chelmsley Wood, so where the baths were on Chelmsley Wood Road. We lived, my mum and dad's mum lived opposite there. And when we were born, we moved to Tamworth. So every Saturday and every week without fail, we used to go back to Chelmsley Wood. And my mum used to work at the Trusted Servant, which was a pub underneath the shopping centre.
Okay.
And all I remember back in the day, because all I remember back in the day is when the flats came down, when they tore the flats down in Chelmsley Wood, and then they just built all these houses. But it was rough. It was nuts.
Well, I used to go to Chelmsley Wood as
the whole estate was just complete.
I don't know if you remember the Merrymaker.
Yeah. Vaguely. I was probably about 5 or 6 then. Maybe a bit younger. Yeah,
I used to go up there, but it was kind of like a bit of a racist area. It's like you could get into the area. When I grew up a bit older, it wasn't too bad.
What was that, Chelmsley Wood?
Yeah. It was racist, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I knew all the racist areas in Birmingham. Chelmsley Wood, King's Standing, Streetley, Castle Vale. There was
Surveyor. Wow.
There was, when I was like about 14, 15, moving around Birmingham, racist people were rife in Birmingham. Like, you know, we had to fight that many races, especially even in town when we started knocking on the city centre. We had to fight that many different racist people. It's like we was the first kind of like kids from the Windrush generation who were actually British born. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So it was like we was actually new to the society we was living in. So we had to kind of like, as Bob Marley would say, get up, stand up for your rights.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Stand up for your rights, yeah.
Yeah. So we was going places around Birmingham, these places, and we'd go there, and on the way out, you know, the white lads wanted to fight us, and like, I remember when I went to Streetley, and they used to come over, these lads, I was about 15, these lads were coming over to me, there's 18, 19, coming out of the pub, and they'd say, do you want to fight? Do you want to fight? We'll fight you for money, and you're thinking, fuck me, look how big they are, man. And we, you know, our knees are knocking and all that. And I can remember the one guy, he kind of jumped me up there. And it was only when I caught him once, I was in the city centre, and he was walking through the city centre, and I just rubbed my hands and thought, you're out of Streetley. Bad move. And we gave him a few slaps, and he ran into the shop. It was a woman's underwear shop as well, which was, I just thought, how embarrassing, you know, you was the big man on Streetley, asking me if I want to fight for money. And now I've caught you in Birmingham. I've got my mates like you had your mates when you had me up the wall. And look, now you're in a woman's underwear shop and won't come out. And then the security guards come out and say, calm down, you're not. But because Birmingham City Centre was our home and we had it on lock, the security guards would just come and go, you know, just calm down, chill, let them out. Because we was on, you know, that kind of a basis with the security. I mean, some of my mates, sometimes when we was knocking up Birmingham, the security get that annoyed with us. They say, come on, we'll go around the corner. And some of my mates would be having straighteners with the security guards while the security watched there, we watched there, and then after they had their straightener, they'd just be fair enough and go about their business. But we was on that kind of level, do you know what I mean? Sometimes if you got into trouble, the security guards would kind of get us out the place as well because we got to know them on good basis. But back to this situation where he says, how did I meet Baz?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, going uptown, knocking around with all these people that I've got to meet, and they became like friends and family, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. My new friends, like, you know, I says I've left my old friends and I'm starting to meet new people.
We will say friends come and go, don't they? But then certain few that you carry through life with you. Well, I suppose Baz was one of them.
You know, every time you say something, you speed me up a bit because you say friends come and go, but the people who, when I knocked around on town, and became my friends, and they became my friends for a long time, and we went through a lot together. But I could say some of them are gone now, and they're not, because friends come and go. Yeah. But like, yeah, started knocking up town, started to meet some new people. I mean, some of the people I met was related to me, and I didn't even know. Wow. Do you know what I mean? And I was knocking around with them for years before I found out. So I found that before you knew it, I'd say it was a circle of friends. If you seen us, you'd probably say it was a gang. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't look like a gang to you. These are
group of mates.
These are all my mates. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And I'd say probably, because I used to knock up town 7 days a week, it was like my home. I'd say probably 5 days a week, there'd probably be a good 15 of us. Wow. Do you know what I mean? A solid 15. And some girls as well who used to knock around with us. Not all sexual. Maybe one of the lads went out with one of the girls. Maybe the rest of the girls was all friends of ours as well. They knocked around with us. We went to parties. We went to discos, whatever you want to call it.
What was your favourite club back in the day?
Well, when I was that age, I wasn't really going to clubs. I was just on the streets causing havoc. Do you know what I mean? We just didn't... All we done is we hanged around the towns and we just tried to find money so we could catch the bus into town, out of town, and we could eat.
And you could eat.
Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I mean, there was times when we used to share burgers. We used to say, you have a bite, I'll have a bite. And if you had a friend who was greedy and fucked up, he'd bite his burger and then spit in it. And then go, you want a bite? And you go, no, I fucking don't want to bite that burger now. But he only done it. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, but you always get them friends in a group though, don't you?
But times was hard then. Times was hard then, you know. Like, lads used to walk the streets and get milk off other people's doorsteps or bread. I mean, you know, we're talking in the podcast about stuff like that, but, you know, we've gone straight past the hardship of growing up and, you know, you got to get milk off doorsteps. Life was really, really hard. So by the time I got into town, it was more a case of like, well, we need to learn to survive. You know what I mean? So I met these friends and we used to knock around town and we used to just do what we was ever doing to survive. Baz came from Handsworth and he had a different crowd of friends, a different gang. They used to come into town all the time and there was that troublesome, the gang that he used to knock around with, that as soon as they came into town, it's like, you know, you see the engines and they do these smoke signals. Well, somehow it got around town. They're in town. So if you're doing something and you're enjoying it, they're going to come and spoil it. Or they're going to come and say they want to fight, or they're going to find some issue with somebody that is not just what you want to be doing. You're like, oh, fucking hell, they're in town. Do you know, one of those ones? And a lot of the time they came up. I think the good thing about it is, though, 2 of them out of that gang became very good friends of mine. And I mean friends, like, you know, when I said to you, I keep friends where I like to be able to sleep and not have one eye open.
One eye open, yeah.
They became friends like that. And one of them was Thomas Coley, and the other one was Barrington Patterson as well. I have got another friend who me and him are very close as well, who came from them sides as well, called Jaspel. And I wouldn't like to do this podcast and forget about him.
Okay.
Because
Good.
me
Well,
and
fair
him,
play.
over the years, and even not so much then, but as years have got on, me and him have got closer, the more that time has gone on. But yeah, Barrington belonged to another gang, and they used to come into town, and some of the lads who I was with was from his area, so they kind of knew him, but they weren't pulling the kind of weight that could kind of calm him down. But I think that, you know, because he recognised people who was with us, he was kind of pretty cool. And after a little bit of coming into town and knocking around with us or going to places we went to, he kind of left the Handsworth lot and he started to knock around with all us lot. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, what age was that around?
About 15, 14, 15. Yeah, we was, at the time, shoplifting was a big thing. Do you know what I mean? So we used to go shoplifting, but it was more on the scale of like, you know, being like raffles. Do you remember the programme Raffles?
Yeah.
Where you don't know it's been done, but it's been done. We used to kind of go places discreetly and try and get stuff. I mean, you even had levels of shoplifters. You know, you had shoplifters that would come and they'd tell you shit. And you think, fucking hell, you've been and robbed that. And you had some shoplifters who came back and it's with some outstanding stuff and you goes, you're at the top of your trade, you know what I mean? Like they'd probably come back with Burberry, Aquascutum, Dax, Pringle, you know, the top of the range, and you're thinking, oh, we need to go shoplifting with them. Do you know what I mean? They're top level.
I remember when I tried to do a bit of shoplifting when I was a kid and failed dramatically. I went to nick a load of drinks, and by the time our time to run out, it all fell out onto the floor and smashed everywhere. And that was my first attempt and last attempt at shoplifting.
You know when I says to you that like on a weekday there was probably a good 15 of us. On a weekend, right, there was probably a good 100, because you had others who wasn't hanging around the town 7 days a week, who wanted to come in town. And I think because when we was like rude boys as well, we used to follow the backup group for The Beat and UB40.
Oh, wow.
And we got to know The Beat lead singer very well as well, because like it was...
Good band.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a ska band, and we was kind of like the ska gang, if you know what I mean. So they acknowledged us because we was making a lot of noise on the town, and, you know, we was kind of like their followers. And Rankin Roger used to come uptown a lot of the time and want to kind of hang around with us and that. And it wasn't... But he was kind of like a nice boy, if you know what I mean. Yeah. He wasn't like us, so it was like a bit difficult to have him hanging around with us because he was a nice boy and we was up to naughty stuff, if you know what I mean. But we used to go to all the gigs, and at the weekends there used to be like a good 100. But when there was like about 100 of us, the shoplifting wasn't so like raffles anymore. It was kind of like, can you imagine like 20 and 30 and 40 lads going into a shop and saying, oh, we're going to get some nice clubber. You know, what you see one person text some clubber, then the next person texts it, then all of a sudden it gets raw and stuff's going up in the air and all kinds of stuff like that. And I can remember a lot of times as well, the lads who used to come on the Saturday and like knock around with us on the weekends, when you're coming out of the shop where you've kind of like been in there and you've had an earner in there, on the way out, the lads who have got stuff who are walking out to, you don't even know that very well, you grab their stuff off them as well and take their stuff as well, and they're kind of like looking, they've been in, they've robbed the shop, and then you've just robbed them too and just and kind of gone off as well. So yeah, that's like my introduction to the city centre and meeting my new friends, which, like I say, was rude boys, and time started to evolve from there. And I think after that, it kind of changed to, I think the new romantic scene came out, but we didn't really get involved in that. You know, the music was okay, but we didn't get involved into it because it was kind of like...
Not your scene?
It was, to me, no disrespect, and I'm not racist or nothing, but it was more a white boy scene. And it's not related, I know it's not, but the lead singer of all them groups, most of them was gay.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Soft Cell and all them groups.
That was a movement back then, though, wasn't it? You had Bowie, you had Soft Cell.
Well, that's it,
You had Boy George.
We thought, well, we'll skip the gay part and we'll move straight onto the jazz funk scene. So we started moving kind of like onto the jazz funk scene. And remember I told you there was kind of like a gang in the town called, what was they called now? The Convicts. I don't know, they'll be disgusted that I even had to think about that. And they was on the town dancing and doing what they're doing. And we found out that they was travelling around the country going to all these clubs called all dayers. And they were starting at 12 o'clock in the daytime and they was finished at 11 o'clock at night. And there was some beautiful women there as well. And like, you know, there's nice dancing. I sometimes wonder if they was on ecstasy because ecstasy didn't come in...
Early 90s, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the way that these guys was dancing in these all dayers, and they was dancing like for about 11 hours.
Wow.
Sweating their heads off. And you think to yourself, and these lads were a little bit older than us as well. And you know, usually when you're older, you're more advanced, so you know more stuff. And I used to think to myself, are they on ecstasy or what? The way they're spinning around and dancing and sweating and whatever. I never did find out anyway, but they was good dancers, nevertheless.
Did you hit the club scene, ecstasy scene?
Well, you speeding me up again and I'm telling you about the all dayers, ain't you? Because
I am.
Because the all dayers, I think myself that it was kind of like the dance scene was a spin-off of the all dayers, if you know what I mean, because what was going on in the dance scene was the same as what was going on in the all dayers, but it was kind of like, I didn't see nobody with no drugs. I didn't see nobody with much alcohol. They was just drinking water. If anything, you saw them with like ganja, because ganja was the thing about then, and it wasn't even like a blues party or nothing where everyone was smoking ganja. You didn't really see none of that stuff. All we done is we went to the all dayers, just danced and enjoyed ourselves. Well, I say we danced and enjoyed ourselves. I think we spoilt the all dayers for those lads I told you that I seen dancing in town, because we went there, and because we was about earning and making money, we was going there, and then all of a sudden you'd hear him on the mic, this has happened, that's happened, there's a fight broke out here, there's a fight broke out there, because we was just that lively. Or, I don't know, maybe one of the lads had pinched some bird's arse, or probably nicked a chain, because, you know, all them things was going on. Mm-hmm. And she'd go, I'm going to go and get my boyfriend. And then the boyfriend would come back, he's from London, we're from Birmingham. There's a problem, isn't there? So sometimes it'd be like, if there was the same lads as us, but they was from London, then there was an issue, which had to be dealt with. And if they weren't like us, they'd kind of look over and go, well, I can't do nothing about you losing your chain or your arse got pinched, because they look like they're going to kill me. And they just go about their business. Where we are now.
So when did it start on the terraces, and when did the Zulus and Birmingham City start?
Well, what happened is, like, you know, when I say to you, we used to knock around the town and we used to get up to the shoplifting and do this and do that. There was a gang in town called the Apex, and there was football related. There weren't many black lads in the gang. There was 1, 2 or 3 I can remember. I can remember a skinhead lad, and I did get to know him very well, but I can't remember his name. Another lad called Walton, he was part of them. You know, he's still around now as well. And there was a few more, Bala, and a few more of the Birmingham City lads. And what happened is, through us knocking around town and getting to know everyone, we started to get to know some of those lads really, really good. So sometimes they'd come to us and they'd ask us if we wanted to buy stuff. Sometimes we'd intermingle and we'd go earning with them, shoplifting or whatever. And then it got to the point where they got to know us that good that, like, you know, on a Saturday or in the week when there was a football match on, they'd come and find us and they'd say, West Ham's coming to Birmingham, or whoever's coming to Birmingham, whichever football team, come down the station with us, we're going to, like, have the ram on them and all that. And me and my mates, we just thought to ourselves, well, it's an opportunity to get an earner again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was about earning money, enjoying ourselves, dancing, whatever. It's a good earner, this is. So we'd start going down this train station with them. And remember, Birmingham City is first port of call to come to Birmingham. If you want to go to a football match, you leave from there. But because we used to knock around in the train station, but upstairs where the fountain used to be, I don't know if you remember the fountain.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of like our territory. And by now, I know the jazz funkers over there dancing. I know the lads in the pub down there, that gang. I got my own gang. The Birmingham City lads are wandering around somewhere as well. The punks are up Oasis. The skinheads are there. Even though we used to fight the mods, we knew some of the mods as well. So the mods was down Bingley Hall. So realistically, if you think about it, there's about 10 different gangs in town just chilling, and every gang has got at least 10 or 20 members. So it was like we was untouchable really in town, because if I was on my own and something happened, if one of the other gangs kind of saw me and they knew me well, they're coming over because, like, you know what I mean? You're not going to leave one man standing on his own. So,
I mean, you guys were feared at one stage, the Zulus. I mean, my mum spent 40 years down there working through the turnstiles and then management and all that sort of stuff behind the scenes.
well, you know, we was feared before the Zulus.
Yeah.
Because
But I only heard about you guys when I started going to the football, which has got to have been early 90s, late 80s.
yeah, but you know the lads who used to come into town, like, I'd call them the foreign bodies, the people who was not from the city centre, the gangs from the city centre, whether they be from Tamworth, whether they be from Sutton Coldfield, whether they be from London, Manchester, wherever, if they came into Birmingham city centre before the Zulus was formed, they'd meet the townies, because we got called the townies, and we never decided to call ourselves a name. People just used to say, if you go uptown, be careful of the townies because you'll get robbed. Do you know what I mean? And that was the kind of gang of the time. So, like, when West Ham or whoever used to come into town, we started to notice they started to wear, like, nice stuff like Pringles and Armani and stuff like that. Remember, we was lads off the streets making earners, and I told you, right, we were sharing burgers and stuff. And these lads are nice London boys coming down with swinging their arms like this with all their nice swagger on. You know, you walk up to me like, all right, mate, where are you from? From London. What you doing here? I've come down to the game. Okay, that's nice. Take your Pringle off. Enjoy your game. Do you know what I mean? So they was coming into town, and then all of a sudden there was a new trend. It's like, you come into town, you're getting taxed. Do you know what I mean?
I remember this. Vaguely remember this.
And the only how you weren't getting taxed is if you knew somebody on the town and they was around at the time as well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I was on town sometimes with my mates who was on the town with me, and they come to me and say, oi, such and such has taxed me. And I'm like, what do you mean he's taxed you? A lad from a different crew in the town. And I've got to go over to that crew and say, oi, give me that back. You know what I mean? He's pork pie or whatever. Give me that back. And he's looked at me and he's looking, and we're like this. I'm like, you know, but you're looking for a weakness in each other's eyes.
Yeah.
And then you just go, here's your hat. Say, listen, don't wear that fucking hat to town again, because I'm not going to
Keep doing this.
I'm not going to keep on putting my life on the line with geezers I'm just getting to know to save your fucking hat. Do you know what I mean? But even the people like that who you're face to face with, who've done stuff like that, they're becoming your friends. And before you know it, all these people, they're all your friends. And that's kind of like how it happened, how the Zulus formed. They formed from all those gangs being on the town, the football lads integrating with us. We're going down the train station and getting involved in what they was getting involved in, finding out that we can get a good earn out, because some of my mates, when the football lads was fighting with the other football lads that coming in from other cities, my mates was not just fighting them, it was taxing them as well, taxing these lads.
Earn a bit of money.
That's it, yeah. And then everyone started to decide, well, hang on a minute, if we can get a good earn off these coming down the train, we can get a good earn if we go down to the game. Because there's going to be more of this down the game with all these foreign bodies, do you know what I mean? So that's when the lads started to kind of like turn over and started to go down the game. And that was kind of like...
How old was you? How old was you been about this time? Right, 17, 18?
I was probably about 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of like, was the kind of like the turning point, because a lot of the lads that was knocking on the town was a lot of black lads. Not only black lads, because you had white lads and Asian lads that lived in all these areas as well. But I'd say it was a minority on the town of the white lads, besides, you know, in the blues kind of circle. So by the time they'd mixed, there was a lot of blacks mixed with the blues lot. Then it looks like it's a multiracial gang, but there's that many blacks in it because we've all just been uptown hanging around doing what we're doing. And then when you go to like places like West Ham or these other football stadiums, it's like most of them are like white gangs, because it's, you know, you're not far off where they used to be slagging off the black players. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like where it turned over from the townies, and then it kind of turned to the Zulus.
Oh,
but
okay.
People talk about that gang now, and, you know, somebody could come up to me now and they go like, that's amazing, do you know that them Zulu lot? And I listen to them and I go, yeah, or I smile in the back of my head. But the way I look at it is like, it's more, I was 15, 16, the townies and the lads off the town and the Apex lads kind of like all got together and the Zulus was formed. And it's like a childhood gang to me. It's like a gang that was my childhood gang. And when I look at it now and people speak about it now, it's like everybody in Birmingham's a Zulu now.
Cypher Films is an independent production company based in Enfield, London, UK. We produce documentaries, short feature films, social media videos, and provide photography studio space for weddings, christenings, and corporate videos.
If you know what I mean.
And that's what you guys started.
But that's not really how I remember it as a kid. And then I was probably there with them for probably about another 3 years, kind of, you know, getting up to naughty stuff, you know, fighting, taxing, football fans from other areas and all the rest of it. And I mean, you know, it was at the time very, very rough, because I can remember we used to go to these kind of like, you know, art shops.
Yeah.
We used to go to art shops to buy our Stanley blades, because football fans those days used to carry Stanley blades and they used to cut each other with Stanley blades. Do you know what I mean? So when I think about it now and we're talking about it, it brings back memories. But because obviously I'm older now and I've moved on to different things in life, it's like you can start talking about it and it triggers things that you used to do when you was young that you forgot about, you know.
All the time.
I don't really, you know, there's stuff I don't even want to talk. I could probably go, yeah, I remember we used to go and get our Stanley blades and this and that, but they're not the things to talk about or to publicise or to.
But it's not. But it shows you from how you grew up to obviously when we get to where you are today.
Yeah, but you know, me and you were having this podcast, and some people will listen to it and they'll go, "This is interesting, right? That's how it used to be them days." And someone else go, "Standy Blades. They used to do Standy Blades. Well, I'm a Zulu, or I want to be a football hooligan, right? Isn't it? They're going to buy a bloody Stanley Blade."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be responsible for people going out and buying Stanley Blades and doing stuff, because all the things that we talk about, or all the things that I'm not telling you about, are things that I done when I was young.
And what people got to remember, there's a different world back then. The whole different world.
Yeah, but I was a kid. And my mind was it was evolving. And if I knew a lot of stuff that I know now, back then, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because I wouldn't. But I suppose what I've done then made me the man I am
I was
today.
going to say, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I've often said, if I could have done this and if I could miss that out and if I couldn't have done that, I'd be okay. But would I be here today, where I am today, if I hadn't have gone through that?
But I'm not going
Or
to...
gone there.
What's the word when you bigging something up?
Glamorise it.
I'm not going to glamorise
No.
the stuff that I done when I was young, because...
But at least you own it.
That's it, yeah. But the lads today, the lads who go to the football and then they want to be part of the football violence and everything, yeah? They're making that a choice. That's their choice. They want to do that. What I done when I was young, I didn't choose it. It was just the way my life evolved. I was there at the time. These things was happening. It's either... I was never going to be sitting there in Sunday school and just singing, even though in my heart, I'm like that. Do you know what I mean? But like I said to you, I live on the fence. I go, I'm in hot water, get out now. But I don't go, that's hot water over there, don't go. I always go to the hot water. I just make sure I get out.
Before it burns you.
Yeah, some people, they stay in it, and then he's just thinking, what are you doing? Some of my mates, they're being lost to drugs. Some of them are walking around, and it's like...
And that's what causes lasting damage, is when you stay in that area.
Some of my mates went on a high, and they're still on a high now, and they was on a high from the 80s.
What's that, 30 years?
Do you know what I mean? I'm
40
like,
years on.
if somebody's turned the music off, why are you still dancing?
Oh, well, I've never heard that before.
Well, you know what I mean, didn't you?
Yeah. But I've never heard that terminology.
Well, I've never heard it. It just came in my head just a minute ago, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that was well put. I've never heard that.
That's how my mind is, if you know what I mean. If I'm
Music stops
describing
while you're still
something,
dancing.
I describe it out as something like that. Do you know what I mean? But
So
yeah.
with you and Barrington, especially being in the boxing world, you've done a lot in the boxing world with Barrington, with One Eye Baz, and he's left a bit of a legacy in the BKB world, which I've later learned, especially knowing Dave Courtney and all the rest of them. And was it always something that you and Baz was always in, boxing?
Well, let's get it straight. Baz, when I met Baz liked to fight. I always say, if Baz was a dog, back then I'd say he was which dog would we say? Even though I wouldn't even say he was a pit bull.
What, more like a Rottweiler?
No. I'd say now here and present, I'd say he was an XL bully.
Okay.
Right, but they had dogs back then. The ones that got the lockjaw?
Yeah.
Staff.
Staffers.
Back then, in the 80s, I would describe him as a staff. But now the dogs have progressed, so I'd describe him as an XL bully. Barrington, he always liked to fight. Now, if I broke it down, it's probably stemmed from his childhood, because me and Baz, well, I've been on a few different situations with Baz, right? We was walking through Handsworth once, and he went, wait there. I thought, what's he up to? And he walks across the road, and there was this guy over there who was older than him, with dreadlocks. And he says, what you saying now, pussy? I thought, oh no, here we go. Middle of Handsworth, dreadlocks. A load more dreadlocks probably come out, you know what I mean? We've all got bald heads and all that. And it didn't escalate to anything because the geezer backed down. And he never told me why he done it. He just done it. And then another time I was in town, and I was just coming into town, and Barrington was fighting at the top of the ramp. Do you remember the ramp?
Yep. Like Palisades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how steep them stairs were?
Yeah. I fell down them a few times.
Well, listen to this. I seen Barrington deadlift somebody, yeah, and chuck him down the stairs. But the worst part about it is while he's deadlifting him, I looked at his face and I recognised him. And I ran down the stairs because Barrington, when he landed down the stairs, he was winded and he got up and he was like, and I ran down the stairs and I went, nah, Baz, nah, because he could have killed him, chucking him down the stairs.
Yeah, so
right. So it
big
was
drop.
and it was a lad called Courtney. Baz again didn't tell me why he done it. Do you know what I mean? And I can't remember really pressuring him to tell me why. But years later, Baz sent me a picture and says, do you remember this geezer? I went, of course I remember him. It's Courtney. You nearly killed him, chucking him down the stairs. And he goes, he's passed away, you know. And I went, yeah. And I thought, you know, you get all the thoughts. Bloody hell, he's passed away, Courtney, whatever. I've gone, Baz, you never did tell me why you chucked him down the stairs. And he went, no reason, kind of thing, and brushed me off and put the phone down. I was like, all right, I didn't think too much of it. And then about 5 seconds later, my phone rang, and it was Baz. He must have thought about what he says. And he says to me, do you know the real reason why I chucked him down the stairs? And I went, why? And he says, because we went to the same school, and when I was at school, he said he used to tease me and call me One Eye and Cyclops. And this is why I believe, I'd say almost the fact I know, Baz was always fighting because when he got blinded in his one eye, he took a lot of stick at school off people calling him Cyclops and One Eye and stuff. So he was always fighting them. And so he's grown up as a kid
Fighting his own
constantly fighting. And then I think what's happened is at some point he's gone, I'm actually good at this. I might as well turn it into something
Positive.
Yeah. So then he started to do his martial arts, and his martial arts progressed to his kickboxing and all the rest of it. And what happened is, like, when we was probably about 18, 19, a lot of me and my friends, we all left Birmingham. You know, most of us for the same reasons, like, you know, women. And we've gone to different cities in Birmingham, so that kind of like, the gang kind of split. We all used to go back to Birmingham and go to the games, or like if a high profile game is being played, like, I don't know, Millwall or, you know, your teams like that, then the lads usually make phone calls and go, we're going to Millwall, you come in, and like, you're like, well, we're Birmingham City and we ain't going to go down there. We're going to show our numbers and we're going to show our strength. Do you know what I mean? So all the lads who are out of town will come back into town and we'll just go to the game. Whatever happens there happens. Everybody's game for whatever. You know what's going to go on if it's going to go on. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't want to know that, don't go. Simple. So like, he liked that kind of lifestyle, fighting and stuff, yeah. He loved a fight at the football match. Do you know what I mean? It's like, he kind of like got the buzz for fighting. I think it's just in his blood. And then he started to get in a big way. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I went a couple of times to Amsterdam and like, you know how he's high profiled over here and people just go, there's Baz or whatever they used to say.
One-eyed Baz or Mr. Patterson.
But when you went to Amsterdam, people used to stop in the street.
Wow.
And they'd be like, get a pen out, and they'd want him to sign his autograph, because that style of fighting is that big in Amsterdam. It's absolutely massive in Amsterdam, right? So as soon as you go to Amsterdam with Baz, it's like people are like, I used to get sick of people giving me their cameras, and I've got to take pictures of him and people. Do you know what I mean? Like, excuse me, come up to me. Excuse me, could you take a picture of me and him, please? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Do you know what I mean? But one good thing about Baz as well, he never, ever refused to take a picture with anyone. Do you know what I mean? So as aggressive as he was,
shows the integrity of the man, though.
He had such a big heart, and you know, when you got him and you're just chilling like with mates and that, he was such a gentle giant when he was with his mates. But he'd never, we used to go out, and the only time he'd drink alcohol and get pissed is if all us lot was with him. He says there's too many people around who want to make a reputation for themselves, and they're not getting a reputation off me. You know what I mean? I went out with him, and he's like that, sleeping, and he's just gone. But if the lads wasn't around him, his true friends, he wouldn't go out and he wouldn't drink. But I don't know anybody who loved to fight like Baz, and that's where it came from. It came from his childhood of being teased from losing his eye.
Yeah, but he turned a negative, which was obviously he had to fight to survive, really, into a career, and not only a career but a lasting legacy. Even when he's gone, people still remember him from the legacy he's left in the BKB world, which is I come across when I met Dave Courtney, and
what a nice guy as well. Dave.
Yeah, well, I personally I didn't get to see him on face-to-face value. We did a music video down at Camelot. He was meant to have starred in the music video, and he had a podcast to do up at Manchester. So he said, I need to go to Manchester, but you can still use the house and make sure you fucking lock it up afterwards. And I was like, yes, sir, yeah, not a problem. But was with a friend called Aaron Twin. He lived with him and Brendan for a while, and he did a lot of decorating at Dave's house. And I said to Dave, I'll come down.
It didn't look like it was bloody decorated when I went there, I tell ya.
Don't say that on that. But yeah, he'd done a lot with Dave, and I never got the chance to say thanks for, you know, because he could have just that could have gone south very fucking quickly, but he didn't.
Well, a funny story about Dave, yeah. I took a few of my mates down to London to the BKB, and some of them hadn't been there before. And on the next table was Dave Courtney and, like, you know, his friends and all that. And we're sitting there, and I'd met him a couple of times before that myself, but kind of like just to say, all right, so just looked at each other and kind of nodded. I think the one time I'd gone up there with Baz, and Baz was reffing, and in between reffing, Baz is like, he wanted to take his watch off. So he's kind of like called me through the crowd, and I've gone up to the ringside, and he's given me his watch to look after. And I think, you know, some people obviously put me and Baz together from that, or when Baz wasn't reffing, he'd come down and he'd sit with us and he'd get us a table or make sure they looked after us when we was there. And the one day I went up there with about 12 of my mates. Could have been a few more. And we were all sitting at the table, laughing and joking and drinking and having a good night out. And then one of my mates says to me, "Oi, that's that Dave Courtney over there at that table." I've gone, yeah, I know. I says, he said, shall I call him? I says, no, I'll tell you what to do. I says, go over to him and tell him your boss wants to speak to him. And they started laughing. My mate started laughing. And my mum mate went, I'll go and tell him. So he went over to Dave Courtney's table and he went like, my boss wants to have a word with you. So Dave's got up and he's come over to the table and he's gone, here he's there, and pointed at me. And I've gone, all right. And he's gone, yeah. I've gone, I've heard you had some good parties, didn't you? He goes, yeah, I have some all right parties. I says, well, how come you've never invited us lot? And he looks around at my mates like that, kind of like, you know, that weary kind of look. And he went, you can come. I went, okay, that'd be nice. He said, I'll tell you when the next one is. I went, okay then. And kind of like, to me then, the joke was a little bit over then to me, if you know what I mean. My mates carried on talking to him, so I left them to talk to him. So they're talking to him, carry on, and then he's left and gone back to his table. So I said, I'm going to the toilet. And my mates went, no, we're going to come with you. And he said, and what we're going to do, one of us is going to walk behind you, and the other one's going to walk in the front. I went, okay then, and they're laughing still, right? So as we're walking past Dave Courtney's table, my one mate in the front, he's moved one of Dave Courtney's mates like that by his belly and let me through, as in to say,
yeah, the boss is coming through.
Let my boss through. And Dave Courtney's head's gone up like that, looking what's going on there, right? So we've gone to the toilet, I'm in the toilet, I'm having a piss, but I went to the disabled, so I could just lock it like that. And I can hear my two mates outside laughing, but they're outside standing like this at the door. And they're laughing, I can hear the one saying to the other one, look, they're looking over, they're still looking over. He's on about Dave Courtney and all the people from his table. So then I've come out, I've walked back to my table, And as I walked back to the table, Dave Courtney's called one of my mates. He's gone, oi, come here. He's gone, listen, you can definitely come to one of my parties. He says, but listen, I don't want no funny business when all you lot come. And we've got, no, we'll be all right. And then in the week, that week, one of my mates sent me Dave Courtney, you know, he used to do these things on his phone where he talks about BKB and stuff like that. And he'd put on there, and I'd met a right unsavoury bunch of lads from Birmingham this week, but there was good fun and that. And he kind of like mentioned us in the, in his little thing on his phone and that. And that's something me and my mates always laugh about. And then as I went up there a few more times after that, I kind of like started to speak to him. And, he'd recognise me when he saw me. So like he'd kind of say, I'm having another party, come down. And then a few times like he'd come to Birmingham to do, like, he used to have these talks where he used to go to a place and have a talk. And he used to text me sometimes
He used to do a lot of hotels and...
Yeah. He used to text me and say, listen, I'm coming into Birmingham. If you want to come, just let me know and I'll just put it down so you can come in. And it's a shame because if I'd known what was going to happen, I would have made... It's
just like so famous saying, isn't it? If only I'd known. Well, Brendan said the same thing. If only I'd known that he was going to do this at this time, I would have done this. And I suppose he didn't tell anyone because of that reason, because someone would have tried to stop him.
That's it. It's like I think about the time as well that what happened to Barrington, God rest his soul. And I think to myself, a lot of the time when we used to knock around together, we used to laugh and joke. But me and Barrington, we used to kind of like, we was like cats and dogs because like, obviously he's very boisterous. And like when he was kind of like around the public, he kind of like, he had a different image because like, he's not going to just go out and go, well, I'm going to let them all know I'm the Barrington that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So he was very more boisterous when he was out and kind of like, sometimes we used
Barrington was a unit there, wasn't
that's
he?
That's it.
Not many people that's going to...
We used to kind of like bounce off each other. A lot of times I used to phone my cousin up and me and Barrington had an argument, not a major argument. You just, like brothers or mates, just having disagreements. And
I've got a friend, Roger. He's much like you and Barrington. But I'm more the boisterous one. Roger's the self-made millionaire, very calculated, but much like you to the point.
Well, all the times I think about me and him bouncing off each other and like very boisterous with each other and like him telling me to shut up and whatever else, just joking. And then I think to myself, it's a shame that you haven't got more time to tell your friends how much you cared about them, how much you loved them, all that time's lost. And I mean, it's not lost because we had a lot of good times together. But if you just knew what was going to happen, you would just said a lot of different things, wouldn't you?
You do a lot of things like different ways.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's one memory which was not long before he died. Me, him, and one of my mates called Grant, a lad from Coventry, and he'll be happy that I've mentioned him as well. You know what I mean?
Big shout out to Grant.
Yeah, big shout out to you, Grant. And we all went to watch the BKB. Barrington was reffing. And I always promised him that we'd go down.
How long was Barrington reffing for?
I'm not sure because
I didn't know he was a ref.
Yeah, he was a ref, but because we was mates, like some people, they know somebody who's a face or whatever you want to call it, and they try and make it part of their life or they're following them. Because me and Barrington was mates, he done what he was doing in life. I done what I was doing in life. Baz would phone me and say to me, I've got a situation. This is the situation. What do you think? He'd probably go, I'm going to smash the geezer up. I'll go, no, but that's not the best thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Because he was kind of like bullying the China shop, yeah? I was the little angel on his shoulder kind of thing. Nah, Baz, the thing to do is this. The thing to do is that, not just go in there like a bull in a china shop and you're going to get yourself into trouble. We used to talk like that a lot. Do you know what I mean? Deep down about stuff like that. But Baz, he done his reffing, he done his mixed martial arts, he done his weightlifting, when we was going to socialise and he wanted to be with his friends and he wanted to chill out and enjoy himself, or he wanted to go to a blues game with his mates who, whatever happens, he knows 100% they've got his back, then we'd go boom and we'd be back together. And then all of a sudden, you know it yourself, you've got your life, I've got my life, go and do your thing. But if you want to know where I am or you need me, like for example, one of my mates, right before Baz died, and it was not long before Baz died, my mate phoned me. He goes like that to me, Kello. He goes, "Where are you?" I says, "Oh, I'm in Tamworth." "What's up?" "Come to Coleshill." "What?" "Come to Coleshill now." "Okay." Jumped in my car, started driving to Coleshill. I'm thinking, Kello's got a problem over there. Get halfway there, my phone rings. "Kello, how many of you are there?" I'm like, "What?" I said, "It's just me." I was like, "How many of them is there?" He's like, "About 20. Oh, fucking hell, I better pull over. Pull over, get on my phone. "Baz, I'm on my way to Coleshill. Kello's just phoned me. There's something going off over Coleshill. You come in." "Baz," straight away. Yeah. I'll have a bit of that." Because that's what he was like. He would never turn around and go, nah, I'm not coming nowhere. "I'll have a bit of that." Okay, then I'll meet you in this destination, in this place. So then I phone a few more of my mates, drive over to Coleshill, get there. It's a mad story, the way it pans out. Get there, my mate's nowhere in sight. Walks in the place. Everybody was dressed in black.
Oh, no.
I'm like that. Looked at Baz, looks at Grant, looks at a few more mates, going, hang on a minute. Walks up to this geezer, because I've been to this pub before. "Well, mate, is this a funeral?" He's like, yeah. I'm like, "What? He's fucking called us to land on a funeral?" So I've just waited for my pal to come. I took him outside, had a few words with him about this scenario. Do you know what I mean? These people in the funeral are all looking at a bit nervous now as well. Do you know what I mean? They've seen us all land in the pub. And I've just told my mate to kind of rethink the scenario, and we'll talk about it again tomorrow. And pleasantly left, if you know what I mean. But he was always drop of a phone call, "Baz, this is happening, that's happening," boom. It was never no. But maybe he did say no to some people, but never ever did I phone Baz and say, "Baz, I've got a situation. Are you coming?" And he's not coming.
Yeah, you always seemed like you were close, that close.
Well, I didn't realise how close we was until he passed away. Or should I say, I didn't know how deep the feelings were.
And was it a sudden passing?
Well, you know the situation where I told you about the funeral? This was on the Monday, yeah, about 5 o'clock. Now, I went about my daily business that day after we all split up. I went to bed. The morning I woke up, I got a phone call about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And that was the news. Do you know what I mean? That was the news. I woke up to the next morning. I was with him the day before at 5 o'clock. I woke up in the morning and that was the news. And do you know what? I always say to my mate now, Kello, I say, "Do you know what? Maybe you called me down for a situation that we shouldn't have gone to because obviously it was a funeral. But do you know what? Thanks. Because if you didn't call me down to that situation, I wouldn't remember the last time I'd probably seen Baz. But I saw Baz the night before he passed away because I phoned him up to come to that situation. So
you got to think, even right to the end, he was there with you. You know what I mean? He was there for you. He was there for his mates.
Well, you know what? I was getting to
right to the end.
I was getting to a story, you know, when I was saying to you about like not being able to say things to people before they pass that you wish you could have said. One thing I'm always going to remember is that, like, when we went to that BKB that day, we all stayed in a hotel, me, Grant and Barrington. Grant will probably laugh. Do you know what I mean? I talk about this all the time. And Barrington had the sofa and me and Grant had the bed. So like, it must have been about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I've kind of like woke up, but I was kind of like facing the wall, and I could hear some whispering. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are them two whispering about this time of the morning? Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I felt some movement, so I quickly turned round, and Grant had his phone up in the air, like pointing at me, like he's going to take some pictures, like of me sleeping or something. And I'm a pretty serious guy.
Yeah.
People will probably say that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Right? And I turned around and I've looked at Grant and I've gone, what the fuck do you think you're fucking doing? And he's kind of like half laughed. I go, no, what the fuck do you think you're doing? I says, I'm a grown fucking man, right? I says, I'm a fucking dad and a fucking granddad. And you think I'm a fucking little kid and you can just take pictures of me while I'm fucking sleeping, do you? And I'm having a fucking meltdown now. And Barrington's like that to me because like Barrington was pretty raw in the way he talks. And he's like this, just shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, you shut the fuck up, you fucking pair of whispering and taking pictures of me like I'm sleeping, think you're going to put it on fucking social media like some kind of a fucking joke. Anyway, Grant says that he didn't just disappear to the toilet, but he did. He just went, whoosh, gone in the toilet. Lock, 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 5 locks on the door. I'm having a meltdown. Just me and Barrington are there. And then Barrington went, just shut up, we're only joking. I said, no, I ain't gonna fucking shut up. You're taking pictures of me while I'm fucking sleeping. It's disrespectful. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Barrington went like that to me. He said, listen, he says, you know I love you, really. Do you know what I mean? And he says it in a nice, calming way because he knew I was having a fucking meltdown because I turned around to him and I says, you won't be saying shut the fuck up, right, when you drive down the motorway and in the car, I'm on the train going home. And that's when I think he realised I was a bit serious. And he gave me a peck on my forehead and he says, come on. He says, you know I love you. We was only joking. And do you know that, like, that is the memory that will always stay with me.
Good.
That it was probably 2 weeks before we was at the BKB. And I go, well, at least I remember that he told me that he loves me. Do you know what I mean? And that's a memory I'm going to carry with me. So at least he got to say something. And then I think when it really hit me, when I got the message that he'd passed away, and I know how I felt because hands down, I shed a tear for Barrington for about 14 days.
I know you did, I was following you. And
not solid, but for 14 days, I counted how many days I shed a tear for him, and it was about 14 days. So, that's how I'm like, well, I feel like I've lost a brother. Do you know what I mean? But when, I spoke to his wife and she's gone, he's left his last wishes. Because he actually left last wishes. And, when she says to me, she says that his last wishes are for you to carry him and for you to speak at his funeral. And I was just like that. That's when it kind of hit me because I was like, wow, not only, do I feel like I've lost a brother, but for him to write in his last wishes, he wants me to speak at his funeral and he wants me to carry him. And I thought, well, for him to be sitting down there thinking that, what must he have thought of me?
You're getting me well, you don't know.
Well, yeah. I kind of don't really want to get like that on the podcast, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to try my hardest, but...
Cypher Films is an independent production company based in Enfield, London, UK. We produce documentaries, short feature films, social media videos, and provide photography studio space for weddings, christenings, and corporate videos.
I just thought to myself, at the time when she opened the letter and she went like that, because she had to open it at a certain time and she wanted to open it when she was with the family, to read it to the family. And I sat down there with one of Barrington's also mates, who was like a brother to him as well, Andre. And we sat down and she opened it. I can't remember whether Andre read it. I think Andre actually read it out. And it actually says, my brother Todd, I want him to speak at my funeral and I want him to carry me. And even though it kind of it tore my soul out and I cried there and then on the spot, but I was also thinking, there's a joke in it as well, because I thought, Barrington, you fucking wanker. Because when Barrington was getting married, I says to him, right, who's going to be your best man? And he went, I don't know. I said, well, don't fucking ask me. I said, because I ain't doing any speeches. I said, I've been a best man for someone before and I'm not doing no fucking speeches, so don't fucking ask me. Anyway, we left it, right? And he was preparing for his marriage. And then one day I phoned him up. I says, Baz, if you need any help, just let me know. And I'll do whatever you need me to do. He said, I just need you to get my suit. Like, my suit. I said, what the fuck do I need a suit for? Do you know what I mean? He says, because you're my best man, and hanged up. And I just sat there like that, thinking, you cunt, right? So when the letter opened and he said, I want you to speak at my funeral.
Done it again.
I was like, you fucking done it again. But this time it's, I don't.
But to trust you with that responsibility.
Mate, I was just like that. His wife says to me, said, listen, if you can't do it, I understand. But I was just like that. Deep down, I was like, I can't do it.
But you did.
But I was like, he wants me to do it. He's asked me to do it. So, oh, he got no choice. I kind of like, I have to do it. But it's like, you know what? He got me in life, being his best man at his wedding. And he also got me in death. I know Barrington must have been somewhere looking down at me, laughing his fucking head off, going, you know what? You said you didn't want to do no speech at my wedding, but now you do one at my fucking funeral as well, ain't you?
Well, I saw the funeral. I watched the turnout, which was amazing. I mean, that was just what was in the church. I can't imagine what was outside the church. And not only the turnout, but the emotion that was shed. The way you got your other mate to come in and finish off the speech. The whole lot, from start to finish, was not only a tribute, but an actual blessing to who Barrington was and the kind of people that he surrounded himself with, his family, his friends, and everyone that he counted on growing up and going out and earning a bit of coin and backing up whoever needed it. It was there at the end for him. You know, and he was all carrying him and speaking for him, turning out for him, obviously shedding a tear for him. But ultimately, he was there to celebrate him. And I feel, even watching it, that came through. And that was another reason that I wanted to get you on, was to obviously glorify him and what he brought to your life, and not only friendship-wise, but the lasting legacy, because I know that you're doing a lot more still in boxing and you're changing lives still.
Well, the thing is, yeah.
The stuff that he done that you're still carrying on.
Well, we went to the schools together as well. And what a beautiful time we had there. When I went to him and I said to him, listen, I've got a friend who's a head teacher at a school and she wants me to come down there with some of my friends and talk to the kids, and some of the kids are unruly and they won't listen to me and all the rest of it. And, we went down there, and I mean, it wasn't just a blessing for the kids. Do you know what I mean? It was a blessing for me. It was a blessing for Barrington. It was a blessing for my mate Jason Sylvester. I mean, we went down there and, just talking to the kids and relating to them about, we've been where you are now, and, our attitudes was like that, but it's been changed, and we understand that it's not going to get you anywhere doing what you're doing. And such a beautiful day, having dinner with them, having pudding with them, going to the lessons, the ones that tried to challenge us. And, we kind of looked at them, or says as much as we could say to them, and they kind of backed down. You know what I mean? But you got to think your hands are tied as well, because some of them, there was kind of disrespecting our friend who was the teacher. But, what a beautiful thing. Another time as well, I was doing a boxing lesson, and a young lad who, he had learning difficulties, and nothing that you could notice straight away, besides he was a little bit slower than me or you. Do you know what I mean? And we'd done a training session, and he was actually knackered, absolutely knackered. And I thought, he ain't going to come back, this lad, because like we train hard.
Yeah, I know.
So the next time we had a training session, he's come back. And I'm like, I didn't think he would come back. Anyway, he's come up to me and he's gone like that to me. He's gone, Todd, he goes, my mates are telling me that you're a Zulu and you're good friends with One-Eyed Bass. Is that true? And I've gone like that. Yeah. And he's gone, do you reckon you could get me to meet Baz? And I went, yeah, I'll have a word with him. Anyway, I went and spoke to Baz and I said, I've got this young lad, he wants to meet you, blah, 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 but I want you to come down to the boxing gym. I want you to do a couple of rounds with him and stuff and that. Right? He's gone, you're okay. And then sound, like he always says. And I went back to this lad and I says to him, guess what? He went, what? I says, I've sorted it out with you to meet Baz. He went, yeah. I said, yeah. I says, but not only meet him, I says, you're sparring him? You're going to go down to the gym and you're going to spar him? He says, no, I'm not coming. I says, no, you're coming down and you're going to spar him, right? Just nicely, though. He went, okay, then. So on the day, I've arranged to pick him up. Mate, you wouldn't believe it. I've gone to pick him up. My phone's rang. It's his mate round the corner. When I'm coming to pick him up, my phone's rang again. His next mate round the corner's ringing. It's like he's told, I've only got a car. It's like he's told a trailer load of people. Yeah, I've gone, they can't come. None of them can come. Only 2 of you are going. Only 2 of them, as far as I'm concerned, had special needs or was a bit slow, whatever you call it. So I took the 2 of them and I took them over to Birmingham and got them in the ring. And Barrington done a couple of rounds with them. And I don't think they ever forgot it. And a few weeks or months later, someone came to me at the gym and they says to me, they says, guess what? I said, what? They says, the lad who I took to meet Barrington, he's in a coma. They says something happened to him and they put him into a coma. His brain swelled or something. And they put him into the coma to calm him down and to see if it reversed. But then they've come to me and they says that he's passed away, he's died. And then some of his family come to me and says, can you bring Barrington to the funeral and all the rest of it? And, you just look at all them kind of things that, them are the lines and the roads that we was trying to go down, like I could be sitting here telling you, oh, we went to football, we smashed these people up, we went to all dayers, and while everyone else was dancing, we was fighting and we was taxing jewellery off some of the people in the all dayers or whatever we was doing naughty, because we done a lot of naughty things growing up.
That's growing up.
But when I sit here now and I look at where we've come from and the things we've done, shoplifting, all the rest of it, all the naughty things, and then I go, imagine we was going to schools and we was talking to the kids at the schools and, he's coaching the kids at kickboxing in Coventry with Dev, and I'm over in Tamworth or I'm over in Birmingham doing the boxing with the kids. And I look at the way that my life's kind of turned round and how the picture of life is through my own eyes now, because I look now and I'm just seeing these young kids, whether they be 7 years old or 15, 16, 20 years old, and they come and they say, people think when we talk about the boxing and stuff, that it's just the fight and training the boxers to fight, but that's not where it started. And
that's just the end bit.
That's it, yeah.
They've got nothing. All this has got to be spoken for.
That's it. I've got to give a massive shout out to Ernie Holt, Mark Holt, Derek Holt, because what you see in me when it comes to boxing and the kids and, going to the schools and stuff, there's people who come before me who have kind of showed me the way. Do you know what I mean? And I've got to thank them, because if I didn't go into Nechel's Boxing Club at whatever age I went into, and then one day Mark turned around to me and says to me, Todd, I want you to go on a coaching course because you've been coaching in this gym for so many years, but without the qualifications. And then you know, getting the qualifications to do it. And then when I get into a situation, I think it's my coaching badge or the police station. Should I talk my way out of a situation, or should I headbutt this geezer? Do I want to be a boxing coach, or do I want to go to jail? And a lot of the times, my coaching badge won. So I can say for so many years, boxing and what Mark and Ernie and Derek done for me, it's kind of like kept me out of trouble and brought me to where I am today. And it's like all of a sudden, I've looked and it's like I'm training these young kids, and then my phone's ringing and people are coming to me. They're going like that to me. They're going, my son's getting bullied at school. I'd like to bring him boxing. So I say, bring them boxing, and I'm teaching them all this stuff and all the rest of it. But I'm just teaching them stuff. And I think it was only when I got a long essay off a woman, a mother, and she says to me, you ought to be awarded for what you do. You wouldn't believe what you're doing. My son came to you, a nervous wreck, getting bullied, and now he would not allow anybody to even touch him. He's changed that much. Do you know what I mean?
You gave him that confidence, or you planted the seed for that confidence.
But the mad thing is, I didn't even realise what I was doing, and then all of a sudden, things like that started to follow. People started to contact me and say to me, oh, you wouldn't believe you've done this for my son. You wouldn't believe how much my son's changed. You know, even those ones that you can't even crack. They come in and my son's, he's defiant, he won't listen to no one. I go, like, I think the last one I got was off a lad called Sam, who started training with us. It's quite mad as well, because I found out that after a while, I actually found out when I made him spar my grandson, and I took it to his mum and I said, look at that. And she went, that's my Sam sparring. I goes, yeah. And she went, wow, I took it home to her dad. And then I found out that Sam was my grandson's cousin, because they kept saying,
small world.
That's it, yeah. And Sam's dad had bought Sam, and he says to me, listen, right, my son he ain't got no confidence, right? He doesn't talk to people. He barely talks to me, right? I just want him to kind of like come out of himself a bit. And I said, just leave him with me. I said, you don't have to do nothing. Go and do whatever you're doing. Go and train whatever. Just leave him with me. And then about 8 months later, after his dad had seen him sparring, which he never came there to fight, he just came there to train. And his dad sent me a message, and he said, listen, he said, you're true to your word. He says, I came to you with my son, and you told him to just leave him with me, and I'll just deal with it. He says, and now he talks to girls all the time. His confidence is oozing through the roof. He says he's as fit as a fiddle, right? He said, you would not believe how much this boy has changed. And that's 2 stories. I mean, I'll probably be driving home now and go, yeah, but I had another 20 lads.
But
No,
it's
listen,
not,
before I say anything else, let me just tell you about Evan.
Yeah, carry on.
We had a lad called Evan who wanted to come to train with us, right? He was only 10 years old at the time. He's got a cleft palate, yeah? So I had him training with me, and I used to go and pick him up all the time, you know? And I treated him a little bit more special because he's got a cleft palate as well, do you know what I mean? You know, the ones that are a bit more delicate, you tend to treat them a little bit more.
Not softer, but with a bit more.
Yeah, a bit more love.
Yeah.
So the one day, me and Evan are driving home, and Evan says to me, he said, I was supposed to go to a checkup for my cleft palate. I said, well, why didn't you go? Why didn't your mum bring you? And he goes, because it's all right. I says, you're not getting no pain or nothing like that, because he's had the operation. And he goes, no, I'm all right. And I said to him, I said, you know what, Evan? I said, you do know that cleft palate makes you special. And he goes, yeah. I says, it makes you special. I says, me and you would not be going to the gym for so long, right? And me coming to get you all these times, if you didn't have a cleft palate, that cleft palate makes you special to me. Do you know what I mean? And you always remember that. And I got home, and I tell you what, I got this message off his mum. Mate, I had a lump in my throat when she says to me, she says, Evan
I've
told
got one
me.
going again now.
She says, Evan told me that you told him that cleft palate makes him special. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, a message went on about, like, you know, how nice of me it was, and I don't realise what I'm doing for these young kids. You know what I mean? So I call it now, when I talk to people, I say, it's my calling, if you know what I mean.
100%,
Like,
100 million%.
I ain't just there to get lads in the ring, like, and get them fighting and all the rest of it, even though I enjoy the fight and I enjoy watching them progress to the fight. But I got lads in that gym that will never fight, but they need a guide to guide them to a certain point in their life and show them the road, show them the way, toughen them up. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And I just feel now that being in the gym with them young lads, it's kind of like my calling to do that. There are lads who I feel like I'm there to train them and to progress their boxing and to get them to win fights. But there's many different reasons I'm in the gym and I'm training them young lads, and it's not just it's for the fight of life.
Well, I come across you, like I say, 24 years ago, maybe even longer than that. Half of my life. That's how long I've known of you. And what you've just said there, that is your calling. I'm sort of living that realm now. And it seems to me that God's given you this responsibility because of where you come from and the way you lived your life and the lessons you learnt and the experiences that you went through, whether it was fighting on the terraces or in the pubs or in...
I think I had more fights in Tamworth.
All that has gone to make who you are now, to be able to go to these schools where you started with Baz, the way you carried him when he passed, the way you carried his legacy on with you, because he's still with you when you're going into these schools, when
100%.
when you're still with these kids, he's still with you. So he's still carrying on a legacy that he's left you, and he's had the responsibility to give you, like a torch, like a relay, to finish the race. But in order to finish the race, you've had to carry on. You ain't just stopped when Baz stopped. You didn't. It was enough to say, okay, Baz, I'm going to carry it on. I know what we started. Thanks, MK. I'm here to finish it. And the way you're describing these, especially the guy with the clef, the child with the clef.
Evan, his name is.
Evan. Sorry, Evan. It just shows you how special that you thought Evan was, and the confidence that you've given him, not only in his personal space, but in his family space as well. For enough of them, for his family to get in contact with you and thank you. Where I think that's giving you, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the confidence, because you've got confidence, you've had confidence all your life. It's giving you a purpose to look at yourself, to see where you are now, to see where you are today, because you own businesses, you're a coach, you know, you're a father figure, you're
A grandfather figure.
Don't
Don't forget my grandkids.
you know, you're all of these things, and you're still making changes with Fisher, with Steve Fisher, with what you're doing at work, and you've bought some land with animals and
We've
and
got
stuff
some
like
land,
that. Yeah,
me, Stephen and Grant, and we've got a few animals on there, if you want to call them a few animals. About 15 sheep, about 30 chickens, goat, horses, you name it.
but I think that's a testimony to you, the person you are, the person that you have grown up to be. And I, for one, even though, I mean, we went to McDonald's before this podcast started, and I wasn't even aware that you even noticed me. Obviously, I've noticed you from afar. I admired you, feared you for a few times, you know, because I've known who you was. And today has been the only chance that I've ever spoke to you, really, on a personal basis to get to know you.
But like I said, I've been aware of you. You know, I'm always looking around. I've seen you around.
I never knew that you even knew I was there. So it's only been a privilege for today. But I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come down to London to speak to me, even though we live in the same town. It took us to come to London to have a chat.
Well, you know,
So thank you.
You know, when somebody contacts you and they say, I want to do podcasts with you, and I sat down and I thought to myself, what's he going to ask me? He's going to be trying to get all my dark secrets, which, you know...
I'm not about that.
I've done pretty well to keep a lot of my dark secrets out of this conversation, but I sat down and I thought to myself, you know, life goes on even when we're gone, and I'd probably be stupid not to come here and, you know, us have this chat, because at least when I'm gone, this will still be there for everybody to look at, and it's a privilege. Do you know what I mean?
And it's a privilege for many reasons. I mean, I've admired you, I've feared you, and now I know you. I can't say that I've got enough respect for you. Words can't describe. But I'm just thankful that you took the opportunity up to come down here and talk to us. But I'm also thankful because I know how busy you are with your job and your career and all the rest of it, that you actually wanted to come down and do the podcast.
I couldn't believe what I've had to leave to come here today.
I know your day started early, but before we go today, what would you like to say to people out there that are in a dark place or they want to better themselves? What can they do? What would you say? What would Todd's advice be?
Well, the only thing that I could say to anybody who's in a dark place is, before you think of doing anything stupid, you know, there's a lot of people like me out there, you know, in your own community. I mean, I'm here. If anybody wants to contact me, if anybody wants to talk
And how can they do that? How can they contact you on Facebook, Instagram?
I'm easy to find me. Do you know what I mean? If somebody wants to find me, they can find me. You found me, didn't you?
I've known you for a long time.
I'd just say it's good to talk. There's good people out there that you can talk to. I know it's hard to get things off your chest, and some people are not talkers, but like, you know, you just got to let people know how you're feeling and open up a little bit, and then at least give people, the right people, a chance
to help.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm always there. Anyone on the planet who wants to contact me and needs help, if I can help them, I'm here, and that's what I'm about.
Bless you. Well, thank you, Todd, and it's been an absolute privilege. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
God bless.